So here I am on the 48th episode of Theater School Rejects podcast. Joined once again by Mario Hirose.
Thank you for having me.
And then Mike Hughes is joining us for the first time.
First time.
Welcome to a TSR podcast. Where we sort of talk about whatever comes to mind, but we also plug our guests. Can people find you on Twitter or YouTube?
I'm on, I have Mike Hughes Comedy is my Facebook, and Mike Hughes 34 on Instagram.
All right. Let's sort of just head this way. Nice. And do you have a YouTube channel or a website?
I don't have, I've got some YouTube videos, but I've not had them in a good enough edited form that I want to send them out. I send them to comedy contests.
Man, I am butthurt about the Burbank Comedy Festival. I sent in my thing super early, $50, didn't get a fucking single booking. And I'm like, I look at some of the people who did, and I'm sorry, I compare myself, and I'm like, I'm as funny as they are, if not funnier, fuck them. I am glad Crystal is out of the booking process at Flappers.
Any idea where she ended up?
No idea. I think she's still at the club, but I think she's not booking anymore.
Oh,
I don't know.
Okay.
I have no information. Richard, since he was doing kind of an internship there, would probably know. Him and Crystal got along pretty well.
Yeah.
And I think Josh is booking Claremont.
Mario and I just entered the Orange County Comedy Festival.
Yeah, so
is it still booking or is it closed?
they're still booking.
I mean, is it still submissions?
Yeah.
Can you guys send me the link?
Absolutely.
I mean, look, obviously I can Google it, but Mario told me about it like a week and a half ago,
Yeah.
and it slipped my mind continuously. So if you guys send me the link, it'll be much better odds of me doing it.
Yeah, I think it's open for at least another couple of weeks.
I'd appreciate it because I do want to, do more comedy festivals. I also want to do out of town stuff, like not like far out of town, like driving distance. Like I don't know, like if there was it's not part of a Vegas thing. I'm trying to think of if there was like a state line comedy festival in Nevada. I'd go about 3 hours out. Or if
That's
it was
interesting. I've never seen like a Las Vegas comedy festival. But
well, there's not gonna be a Las Vegas one, but like state line. That's what I'm gonna. That's my new thing. I'm gonna hit up State Line because what the fuck have they got performing there, man? You ever see that place?
So
it's a pretty cool little.
You talking about Prim?
Yeah.
I think it's called State Line. There's a little little town.
Prim.
Yeah, I thought it was called State Line.
Prim.
But it was like you're driving out of California, you hit Nevada,
Right,
and suddenly
that's
it's just
Prim.
like all these lights, and it looks like
Yeah.
oh, that's like a cool place to stay if I wasn't headed to Vegas.
35 years ago, I was driving through that, and it was like two trailers, and it's just grown to what it is now. And their big draw was the Bonnie and Clyde car that was shot up.
I'm like, man, I want to perform. I'm gonna call them up and be like, hey, do you guys need a headliner? What the fuck you guys got going on in Prim? I'm gonna bring the funny to you. I don't know. They might be like, who the fuck are you? But we'll see.
Well, let's see. You got the Arizona Comedy Festival. I think that's
Another border.
that's in October, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of driving to Phoenix in November for a convention, so. Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. So, Mario, you're performing in.
Let's see. I'll be in Ventura on Saturday, September 1st, and terrible. I don't know the rest of my shows for next month.
That's okay.
Ice House?
You'll probably be in a podcast next week, so you can plug them all then. You'll be back. I did get the podcast out before your Friday night show.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
It was not much. I got it out like 2 p.m, but it did go up before your Friday night show, so it's theoretically possible.
The show is actually sold out in the belly room, so I'm sure you got to be part of that.
Dude, that's 6 hours, man. There was lots of people who were like, what am I going to do in the next 6 hours? Oh, Mario's got a comedy show. Out of like the 4 people who clicked on it between then and your show.
4 people in the belly room's a lot.
That's assuming everyone who clicked on it actually went. But sure, let's assume that. Why not? They were all big fans of Mario on Twitter anyway.
And he told me too that most of your followers or listeners are in New Jersey, so
We have a high percentage of followers on the East Coast, one in New Jersey and one in Virginia. Shout out to Brian for listening to this. Well, in case he is, I'll give him props because he named Veronica's nonprofit. He was a buddy of mine. We were buddies in high school, like my best friend in high school, and then we've been out of touch for like 20 years. And then I found him on Facebook, and we were trying to find names for Veronica's nonprofit, and which is going to be like haircutting to like autistic kids. and he suggested salon and thanks for all the fish. Which,
so what is the charity or the nonprofit?
again, it's like, because I guess autistic kids, Veronica's the person to ask about this, and she should be here in a bit, that it's too much sensory overload for kids with
Getting a
autism.
haircut?
Yeah, getting a haircut.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, what she does is she goes, like, to their houses.
Yeah.
And so, like, because I guess it's just, because they end up, a lot of them not getting a haircut, so they look kind of disheveled, and they're already kind of on the outskirts of society, and looking like a mess just makes it worse. So she's like, I think that'd be a good service. And she's a, cosmetologist, so she, like, said, if you want to donate, that would help her fund, like, probably her at first, and then, more people at first where she trains to, like, give haircuts to people who have these special needs.
No, that's clever. Because autism, there's so many varying degrees of severity.
Yeah, it's a spectrum.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of comics fall on it. But, like, the more severe ones, which, and it's a little bit me, like, I've been cutting my own hair for 10 years, but it's not so much like sensory overload so much as, like, I got neck and back issues from jiu-jitsu and cage fighting, and fucking somehow putting in when you sit in their chair, they think they've got license to jerk your head around. It's a fucking puppet, at least when I get my hair cut. Instead of saying, can you tilt your head to the side, it was like, phew! And I'm like, ow, I didn't want you to do that. That wasn't fun for me. And I'm like, fuck it, cut my own hair. Didn't look that good anyway. So 10 years, do you know how much money I've saved in the haircuts in 10 years?
Wow. That's why I cut all my kids' hair.
Right?
Yeah.
Let me see. Like $20 every 2 weeks, that's $40 a month. So that's like $500 a year in 10 years. That's $5,000. That's enough to, like, go to
And
Europe.
then slap on there a 10% interest rate.
And,
That's
oh yeah, and the tips.
20 grand.
Oh man, yeah.
That's the investment. So.
That's where my sword budget comes from. That's how I can afford swords. The money I don't spend in haircuts.
When's your next show?
August 30th, I think, at the Flappers in Burbank.
Oh.
It's a Thirsty Thursday show. I'm gonna do a killer 5 minutes on, like, swords and historical reenactments. The only reason I got the fucking thing was, like, I ordered a video for $30 at the Claremont show I did, and they're like, oh, we can't find it. Do you want another booking with a free video? And I'm like, yes, I would.
I was on my way to Burbank a week and a half ago and got a tear in my retina on the freeway.
Oh shit, what happened?
I got this when your eyeball separates.
No, I know that, but I mean, like, what happened? Did someone hit your car, or what happened?
No, it wasn't like a fight or anything. It was just old age. So,
You were just driving, like, was your
just
window
driving,
open?
It's kind of hereditary. I've heard it just can happen to certain people, and it happened.
But
to
there was
me,
no
and
triggering event?
Not that I can think of. Unless
Man, I am going to be terrified for the next, like, 3 years about, I'm going to move my fucking head the wrong way and tear my retina.
Maybe my wife slugs me in the middle of the night, but I wasn't aware of anything that happened. So it was serious. I had to get emergency laser surgery the next morning.
Now, I've heard, like, you have to keep your eye open so they can't drug you too much.
It was. I tell people that I started off getting a needle in the eye, and that was not the worst part of the
Oh man, that's a fucking. Oh man,
It was at least 35 to 40 blasts with the laser, and talk about
That's
not wanting to move from a barber chair.
That's not what our listeners want to hear. We got to pick this up. Let's move on. I'm sorry. That's terrible to hear.
I could now be a pirate and travel the open seas. So.
Did you have an eye patch for a couple days?
I did, yeah.
That was pretty cool. You were a pirate. We got the swords. We got cutlasses. We don't have cutlasses yet. We will.
That's the curved pirate sword?
It's a short saber. It was actually more of a nautical sword, like most British sailors had it.
So you really have a deep knowledge of sword fighting over his.
In the past 6 months, I've been watching a lot of videos by people who have done research, and I haven't independently confirmed, but I have kind of sorted who seems to know what they're doing versus who seems to be making up shit on the fly. Because you can tell. Well, at least certain people sound more balanced. Anyway, but according to the videos I've watched, that there's reasons why. I think pirates more or less use cutlasses because sailors use cutlasses, and that's what you kind of got trained on. Because a lot of pirates were former British sailors.
So what if you could go back into time and you could only pick one sword? Would you pick the giant King Arthur, or would you pick a small cutlass, or maybe like a curved Arabian type sword, or what would be your sword of choice?
I think the ones I have, I think something like the Scottish basket-hilted broadsword, or else a not terribly curved saber, like a slightly curved saber.
And what does the curve do?
It's much better for cutting,
Okay.
and specifically, it's much better for cutting on horseback, where at the high speeds,
Right.
you get basically it spreads out the timing of the cut, so that it's much less likely to get caught in someone's ribs and jerked out of your hand, or at the very least, you can just keep cutting down people. Very much a cavalry sword.
Is there a strength issue too in terms of it not breaking?
What's that? The curve? No, I didn't see anything where it added to the strength of it. Just again, the curve is mainly cavalry. I mean, somewhat for any cutting to not get stuck, because you don't want to not be able to use your weapon and have someone else cut you down in a battlefield scenario where you're fighting more than one opponent. I mean, that's kind of thing. It's like there's I don't. You asked, but like you have a difference between battlefield weapons and dueling weapons, where like a battlefield weapon, your main thing was like being able to turn and fight someone else like 15, 20 seconds later,
Right.
as opposed to a duel where you're going to fight the same opponent for 5
Right.
minutes, 10 minutes.
Like the Princess Bride.
Right. Assuming it would last that long, but still the same idea versus like, are you encountering someone in kind of an eddy of combat where even if you don't kill each other, you're still going to be torn apart by the press of bodies kind of thing. You're not having a prolonged one-on-one encounter.
Right.
Anyway, but not to put too much heat into
But
this.
no, but why not like the katana, the Japanese samurai?
Okay,
sword?
well then we're gonna go there. All right, that's if you're interested, we'll talk about it. So the katana.
Mario is here, so
Well,
he's been silent on this point.
I actually, despite the heritage, I would prefer a saber than a katana.
So, the
The
katana is a
curved
two-handed
saber?
sword,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And a two-handed sword limits your ability to sort of protect your body. With a one-handed sword, you can have more of a 45-degree angle, like a boxer stance.
Right.
And so with a katana, the two-handed grip, it's very difficult to wield from that kind of
You're
stance.
pivoting your body another
So you're more
45
like this
degrees,
way.
yeah, or
Now,
90 degrees.
but then you sort of understand that it grew out of a time when people were fully armored.
Oh, yeah.
In the same way the English longsword is a two-handed grip and more squared shoulders. Again, a time when you would wear metal gauntlets and you were fighting in the
Right.
battlefield. Whereas later swords were more developed the idea of you were in civilian clothes, you would wear it as a civilian sidearm, and you might be fighting someone in a battlefield or elsewhere, but you probably wouldn't be wearing full armor or metal gloves, and therefore you want to protect more of your body.
And the katana came kind of in between the two. Or was it still full body?
My theory is it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Is that, well, at least in my understanding of Japan, a lot of times it's not so much like forms don't evolve. Like there's a very, very sense of like doing it the way that your ancestors have done it. And like poetry was done not by being the best innovator, by being the best master in classical form, or calligraphy. It was all about mastering a classical form. And I think like they reckon the best swordsman, not who came up with a new form or adapted to new conditions, as much as who mastered the traditional art of kenjutsu. And so I think even when they weren't wearing full armor anymore, they still practiced and perfected the same art.
Although if the zombie apocalypse happened, I would rather have a katana than a saber.
Now, why is that?
I think that's because you're so influenced by.
No, well, I mean, like, so, because there's tons of videos on katana versus longsword, and a really good video of a guy with a slightly longer katana going against another guy with a longsword, and
No, but if you're chopping zombies, I just feel like the katana would be more durable.
Well, I think the balance issue helps with the arm strength required to mow down 30 zombies.
Right.
Yeah.
well, there's people who argue the katana's cutting strength is vastly overrated. Like all the folding techniques, and there is a lot of like special smithing that went into forging katanas, but that was because the quality of iron in Japan was relatively poor compared to the quality of iron in Europe, and so they compensated for like lack of materials in a very clever way, but they're not actually much superior in cutting to a
What was the
longsword.
clever way they come?
All the folding and the ceramic.
I don't know what that means.
So well, they fold the metal a number of times.
Okay.
And I guess there was like a way. That's all I know is that they basically folded it in a way, and it made the edge very, very fine, and so that was good for cutting, and it didn't get dull. Like it stayed sharp for a very long time, but it's somewhat brittle at the cost of it.
Huh.
So
Maybe why
like
the finest cutlery still comes from Japan.
what they say is the iron in Japan was basically called pig iron here in Europe, and that's kind of like, again, it was just not high quality. And again, this is stuff I've gotten from other people, so I can't like vouch for it, but that seems to be what the people in the know believe.
How cool would it be to forge your own swords to have your own blacksmith area?
I've actually looked into it. It's pretty expensive.
Is it?
You could take a class. There's multiple places that do it in North America. And you're probably talking $5 to $10 grand, depending on like who you go to. And if you actually learn how to do it, and you make your own sword by the end of the week.
So 5 to 10 grand, and you come out with your own sword.
Yeah.
That's an expensive sword, but like if you're going to Japan or someplace, where do you go to have this done?
Yeah, where'd you look?
There's just random places, like just random dudes that just know how to do this stuff. I don't know. I've looked into it, and it's just been cost prohibitive.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like you can just buy a sword. Hell, you can watch YouTube videos about how to do it and buy the equipment. I mean, like you could set up your own forge for probably about $5,000-$10,000.
Mario doesn't watch videos on bullfighting. He goes and joins a class that goes down to Mexico and fights bulls.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is right. I'm just saying, like, for that money, for $5,000-$10,000, you could totally just do it yourself.
Or just buy a really nice sword for 10 grand, but... Hey,
No, but you would have the knowledge.
Right.
You would have learning.
It's a life experience.
Right. Oh, it's just the coaching aspect of having someone there.
I know, but like for that money, there are people around who will share their knowledge.
Right.
Well, anyway, that was 17 minutes of not riveting comedy, but that will be our podcast. Mike, where can people catch you?
September 2nd is a Sunday. I'm going to be at the Ice House in Pasadena, and September 7th is the Comedy Store, the Belly Room,
Nice.
part of the Jimmy Shin
We're
show.
going to be me and Rich are going to be at the Comedy Store on September 11th for a roast battle. And
Nice.
and Mario, in your next coming show?
September 1st, Ventura at the Ventura Comedy Club.
All right, come check us out. Tell people about this, and then we'll have tens of listeners.